Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode Recap and Thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to the A segment of episode 34 of The Loud House, No Such Luck. We begin this segment with Lincoln eating some breakfast, but he quickly tries to leave discreetly when Lori shows up to mention that she has a golf match and wants all of her siblings there to support her. He has a close call when Lily starts to say his name, but he's able to make it out of there without anyone noticing when he gives Lily her bottle. Lincoln then explains to the audience that it's not that he's not unsupportive of his family. It's just that he always has a full schedule with so many sisters. With as many sisters as he has, his schedule is so full that he never really has time to go to everyone else's respected events, and he doesn't even get any time to have some quiet time to himself. And he just wants a break from all the craziness or the hectic schedules that he's been going to for quite some time now. Unfortunately for Lincoln, Lynn happens to catch him. She was the only sister not at the table originally, and she wants Lincoln to go to her softball game, pointing out that Lincoln hasn't gone to any of her previous softball games for this particular season. But Lincoln responds that he had his hands full with other commitments from other sisters, which is why he didn't go before, and he just wants a break to have some time to himself. But when he mentions he doesn't want to go, Lynn threatens him with a baseball bat, pretty much forcing him to go to her game. And yeah, she's using the baseball bat to force Lincoln to go along with what she wants. So we see Lincoln with the Loud family. Oh, and Bobby's there too, watching Lynn play her game. But when... that's right, yeah. But the game ends up not going well for Lynn's team. They lose the game. And beforehand, they had a perfect record for this particular season. When Lincoln tries to say he feels bad for Lynn that her game didn't go so well, she refuses to have Lincoln go near her because she accuses him of being bad luck, saying that the only time she lost a game this particular season was when Lincoln was present. So she bans him from any of her future games, and she does more of her good luck rituals, which we saw a little bit during the game too. And Lincoln is kind of baffled that Lynn thinks he's bad luck, but he's glad he doesn't have to go to any more of Lynn's games. Later on, Lenny wants Lincoln to go to one of her commitments, something relating to fashion, but Lynn insists to Lenny that she shouldn't let Lincoln there because he's bad luck. Lincoln at first tries to once again reaffirm that he's not bad luck, but realizing he could get out of another event, he goes along with the bad luck thing. And that's what we see for the next is a montage where we see Lincoln spreading the bad luck rumor so he can get out of going to his other sister's commitments. And while some of them don't believe it, like Lori and Lisa don't believe the bad luck superstition, and Lori still forces Lincoln to go to one of her golf matches. And later on, we see Lincoln manage to break one of Lori's golf clubs to kind of sell the bad luck angle, so Lori won't want him to go to any more golfing matches. And Lisa also is now jumped on the bad luck bandwagon as well. So Lincoln's able to finally have some quiet time to himself, but then things take a turn for the worse, because while the sisters are going along with this bad luck this whole bad luck routine. The parents now actually believe Lincoln to be bad luck as well, and they start to progressively push him out of certain things with the family. Like, first, they have him eat his breakfast in the living room away from, not at the table where everyone else eats. Then they all want to go to the movies, but they don't bring Lincoln along because they think he's bad luck. And when Lincoln tries to go into his room at night, he finds out that his door has been barricaded shut, and there's a note saying that they don't want his bad luck anywhere near the other siblings upstairs. So Lincoln, apparently, he sleeps in the doghouse because he doesn't think of anywhere else to sleep. But when he wakes up the next morning, they lock him out of the house and they won't let him back in. And they all plan to go to the beach without him because they believe he's bad luck. And they locked him out of the house because they think his bad luck will taint the house. So Lincoln he uses a megaphone and he tries to, he confesses to the rest of his family that he lied about the bad luck rumor just so he could get some time for himself. And he apologizes for deceiving them like that, and he's hoping that they can, mend fences. But Lynn responds that she won every game that Lincoln wasn't present for before she banned him and after she banned him. The only game she lost this season was the one he was present at. And it doesn't help that Mr. Grouse kind of eggs that mentality on, saying like, oh, Lynn has a point, and Lincoln does tell Mr. Grouse to go back inside, but the rest of the family still refuse to believe Lincoln and go along with Lynn because of her claim that she's had won all the games Lincoln wasn't present at. But Lincoln has an idea to try and disprove Lynn's superstitions. What happens is, at the next game that Lynn has, Lincoln managed to find his place. He managed to get a hold of the mascot costume, or squirrel. It's a squirrel, so he's wearing the squirrel mascot costume, and his intent is that when Lynn wins the game, he takes off the costume to prove he was there all along, thus proving he isn't bad luck. So, and there's a few close calls, but Lynn's team does end up winning the game, and Lincoln does just that. He reveals that he's been at the game this whole time, and Lynn still won the game. But the family kind of gives him a half-hearted apology, and they admit that they sold Lincoln's furniture. So, how does the segment end? Well, Lincoln gets to go to the beach with his family, but he's forced to wear the squirrel mascot costume because now they believe Lincoln is good luck when he's wearing the costume, and that's how the segment ends. Boy, howdy. I know I said that before with Brawl in the Family, and I did mention before that Brawl in the Family was one of the most despised entries in the Loud House by many fans. Many consider it their second least favorite entry in the Loud House. Yeah, for those wondering what was the segment that fans hate even more than Brawl in the Family, yeah, it's No Such Luck. This is the segment that many consider worse than Brawl in the Family, and yeah, I have to agree. This is my least favorite entry in the Loud House. I wasn't looking forward to covering this segment, but I did say I would recap and share my thoughts for all the segments of the Loud House, so I have to soldier on. So let's get this over with. Now, in the past, I've mentioned that I was never really a fan of the storylines where Lincoln gets hit with disproportionate retribution. That is to say, the punishment he gets exceeds his crime, the crime that he committed, or the misdemeanor, the felony, whatever you want to call it. And I've never really been a fan of the storylines where Lincoln gets all the blame for a conflict that he's really only partially at fault for. Yeah, those two plot lines or general stories, whatever you want to call it, they were combined in this segment. It was a case of Lincoln getting all the blame for something he was only partially at fault for, and getting a needlessly cruel punishment for his partial fault in the conflict. And the kicker is, there are apparently some fans out there who, I've seen some fans who actually do insist Lincoln was entirely at fault for the conflict that happened in No Such Luck. And if certain rumors are to be believed, I haven't seen this for myself, so I can't say for sure if it's true or not, but if it is true, there's apparently some staff members or crew members of the show that whose response to any critique for No Such Luck is that Lincoln got what he deserved. And if that is true, then oh boy. Because first, let's clear something up. Yes, it would be dishonest to say that Lincoln didn't do anything wrong in No Such Luck, but at the same time, it would be just as dishonest to say everything that happened in No Such Luck was entirely Lincoln's fault. Because, let's get this out of the way, yes, going along with the bad luck rumor and helping to spread it was bad on Lincoln's part. He partially was at fault for what happened to him because he went along with the bad luck rumor and he helped to spread it. But at the same time, it's not fair to say that it's completely his fault or that he deserved the retaliation he got for it. Because while Lincoln might have added fuel to the fire, Lynn was the one who ignited the fire in the first place. And Lynn was the one who kept the fire going even after Lincoln owned up to his part of... even after Lincoln stopped adding fuel to the fire, Lynn kept it going. Because, as we recapped in the segment, the whole bad luck rumor started because Lynn accused Lincoln of being bad luck because she lost the one game of that season when Lincoln was present. And she kind of encouraged it by, she was the one who first told Lenny, don't bring Lincoln to your event or else he'll contaminate it or ruin it with his bad luck. And Lincoln only went along with it afterwards. And again, while Lincoln wasn't right to go along with that, Lynn did start the event. It's not unreasonable to say that Lynn started the whole thing, and she kept it going even after Lincoln owned up to being wrong about it. And this is especially frustrating because I've seen some fans, the ones who do kind of vilify Lincoln in this segment, have been hypocrites about it too. Like, I've seen some fans accuse anyone who points out that Lincoln isn't entirely at fault for No Such Luck's events as not holding him accountable for his actions, but they go around and they don't hold Lynn accountable for her actions, saying, oh, Lynn was barely in the segment, Lincoln spread the thing farther than Lynn did, and yeah, I don't buy into that argument or that justification. That's a load of baloney if you ask me, because Lynn not appearing as often in the segment as Lincoln did doesn't change the fact that Lynn started the bad luck rumor in the first place, and she kept it going even when Lincoln apologized for his part in the conflict. So yeah, I mean, if you're going to hold Lincoln accountable for his part of the conflict, you should hold Lynn accountable for her part in the conflict as well, and vice versa. And again, saying that Lincoln got what he deserved for his part of the conflict, I don't buy into that either, because Lincoln it accumulated to the point where Lincoln was kicked out. Well, maybe not kicked out, but locked out of his house, and they wouldn't let him back into the house because of the bad luck rumor. Yeah, that was excessively cruel. There's no justification for that. And I see some people try to justify it as, oh, Lincoln reaped what he sowed, but no amount of someone reaped what they sowed justifies giving them disproportionate retribution. That's why it's called disproportionate retribution. The punishment exceeds the crime, and this was the case here. Yeah, Lincoln lied about being bad luck, but he didn't deserve to be locked out of his house for it. And really, when you look at the reason why Lincoln went with the lie, it's not hard to understand why, even if you don't agree with his actions, because I've said this before and I'll keep saying this until it gets through to some people's heads. Understanding someone's actions is not the same as agreeing with someone's actions. They are different, and you shouldn't treat them as interchangeable synonyms. But as we saw, Lincoln is made to go to many of his sister's events all the time, and he has such a full schedule that he can't go to every event that his sister wants him to go to, any of his sisters. And, well, Lincoln barely, if ever, has any time to himself, and it's okay to want quiet time to yourself. You're not a bad person if you just want some time to yourself to unwind and, yeah, and to relax. And like like the sound of silence before it, no such luck, I felt, kind of tried to paint Lincoln as the bad guy just because he wanted some quiet time to himself. And the kicker is, I've seen some fans actually accuse Lincoln of being unsupportive of his family just because he wanted quiet time to himself. Their response is, family supports each other, Lincoln. You should go to your sister's events no matter what. And it's, well, the point is, Lincoln has been going to his sister's events. And yeah, it's really just uncalled for to call someone unsupportive just because I've been going to my family's events for so much and had a full schedule for so long. I just want a moment to myself to unwind. And you're not a bad person if you want that. And that's why it infuriates me that some people insist Lincoln is unsupportive of his family just because he wanted some quiet time to himself. And part of why I also find that frustrating is because I have the displeasure of knowing some people in real life who try to use the family supports each other response to justify things that are not very sincere. Like, I've seen some people try to guilt trip their family members into going along with something they want to do because family supports each other, but in reality, they just want to take from their family and have no intention of giving in return. And I've seen the family supports each other response being twisted and distorted in a way to say, to pretty much the person saying it is really just saying, blindly support me no matter what, just because I'm your family member. And even if I'm very obviously in the wrong, you should still blindly support me just because I'm your family member. And no, that's not what the family supports each other response should be about. That's just wrong. That's a wrong way to try to enforce that mentality. So that's why I do find that frustrating when people try to paint Lincoln as a bad guy just for wanting quiet time to himself and for invalidating his justified desire to have some time to himself. And other fans have pointed out that we've never really seen the sisters ever go to anything that Lincoln wanted to go to. So some feel it does seem a little hypocritical that the sisters want to drag Lincoln to whatever event they want to, but never seem to want to go to anything he likes to support him. So it kind of does reaffirm, or it reinforces that mentality that some people have about the Loud family. Like, yeah, I think the Loud family do get a disproportionate amount of hate, but with segments like this, it's not hard to understand why they are seen in a very poor light by many fans. And oh yes, the Loud parents were seen in a bad light in this segment too, because they actually believe this bad luck nonsense too. And the kicker is that if the reality was that they didn't actually believe it, they just did this to teach Lincoln a lesson about lying, then that would have been just as bad. Some might argue even worse, because like Sound of Silence, where the Loud sisters tricked Lincoln and they justified it as him ignoring, to teach him a lesson about ignoring his family, that's just needlessly cruel. And that would be needlessly cruel here too, if they locked him out of the house for bad luck, but they did that to teach him a lesson about lying. That wouldn't have came off as, that again just comes off as disproportionate retribution. And to be fair to Lincoln, it's not hard to understand why some people felt Lincoln had to lie about it, because when Lincoln, we saw when Lynn wanted Lincoln to go to her game, but when Lincoln said he didn't want to go, she threatened him with a baseball bat. So when Lincoln finally found a chance to get out of having to go to people's events, I can't say that I fault him for that. I can perfectly understand why he felt he had to resort to lying, even if I don't agree with him lying about it. I can understand where he's coming from. The way that scene came out, it made it feel like Lincoln felt he had to lie to just get some quiet time for himself. And again, while I don't agree with how Lincoln did it, I don't think it portrays him as necessarily a bad guy, but it does paint, Lynn in particular, it does paint Lynn in a bit of a bad light. And yeah, Lynn just came off didn't really learn a lesson either. She only gave really a half-hearted apology when Lincoln had the squirrel costume at the end. But otherwise, Lynn just came off as a sore loser with a never my fault mentality in this segment. And that's partially why Lynn has such a bad reputation among some fans. I do think some people exaggerate it. I think Lynn does have her good qualities, but I do have to concede that the show doesn't always present Lynn's good qualities sometimes, and they do sometimes paint Lynn in a really bad light when her unflattering qualities are brought to attention. Now, I realize that was a long one, but yeah, I had a lot on my mind. I did not particularly like this segment. Oh, and while I'm thinking about it too, there's a lot of fan works dedicated to No Such Luck, kind of fans' ways of venting their frustrations with this segment. And it's gotten to the point where there are other fans that actually are annoyed by how many fan works dedicated to No Such Luck exist. But the thing is, while I do understand the frustration seeing those fan works dedicated to No Such Luck, at the same time, I do understand where the people making No Such Luck fan works are coming from. They're trying to vent their frustrations. And I say, yeah, they have every right to vent their frustrations. And I do think that if a person doesn't like fan works based on No Such Luck, they have the choice to not look into those fan works. And that way, the people who want to vent their frustrations can vent their frustrations, because yeah, it's venting your frustrations by channeling it into a fan work. That's much better than what I've seen some people do, where they actually attack the staff members over social media over the segment, and I don't agree with that at all. As much as I don't like No Such Luck, I don't think the crew members deserve to be attacked or antagonized over it. So I ask this of any viewers watching this: if you didn't like No Such Luck either, please do not antagonize the staff or crew members about it. I mean, they don't deserve that, even if you don't like the segment. I understand if you don't like the segment, but it doesn't justify antagonizing people about it, because there's much better ways to channel your frustration. So please do not antagonize the crew members. Do not antagonize the staff over No Such Luck. They don't deserve that. That would be an example of disproportionate retribution. So yes, let's not encourage disproportionate retribution, please. So there you go. Yeah, I did not like this segment, but it's done now. We've discussed it. I don't have to think about it ever again. And as to be expected, we'll discuss the B segment next. Take care, and until next time.